A new term begins at the secretive Eldritch Academy, enveloped in anticipation and whispered secrets. Aria Flameheart, restless under the strict Academy rules, seeks to challenge the boundaries of her magical education. The girl reaches out to a hidden latch under a shelf, revealing a secret section filled with ominously glowing books bound in strange materials. As the boy whispers an incantation, shadows gather around his feet, swirling and creeping along the floor like tendrils of smoke. The girl, eyes wide with both fear and excitement, reaches for one particularly sinister-looking grimoire that seems to pulsate with dark energy. Upon touching the grimoire, a sudden burst of flame envelops the girl's hands, but she does not flinch. Instead, the flames reflect a fierce determination in her eyes. The boy watches, horror and fascination etched on his face as his body begins to fade, becoming almost translucent, a ghostly figure in the dim library light. Their forbidden experiment unleashed, the library around them begins to shift. Books rattle on their shelves, and a low, ominous hum fills the air, a sound of magic disturbed. Realizing the gravity of what they've initiated, the two look at each other, a pact unspoken but understood. They must face whatever comes together. The camera pans over Eldritch Academy as dusk falls, casting long shadows across the Gothic architecture, its turrets and spires shrouded in mystery. Inside, a fire blazes uncontrollably, reflecting the chaos of Aria Flameheart's curse. In her secluded workshop filled with files and ancient books, Lilith Evergreen is meticulously grinding rare herbs with a mortar and pestle, her face etched with concentration and urgency. Lilith combines the ground herbs with mystical fluids in a large, bubbling cauldron, whispering incantations. The potion emits a soft glow as she drops in a vial of Aria's blood, which sizzles upon contact. The girl, eyes wide with both fear and excitement, reaches for one particularly sinister-looking grimoire that seems to pulsate with dark energy. Aria, isolated and feared, sits alone in her room, the scorched walls testimony to her dangerous power. She gazes at the small bottle Lilith has given her, filled with a shimmering red liquid. With a trembling hand, Aria uncorks the bottle and drinks the elixir. Almost immediately, the flames around her dim and she sighs in relief, her body relaxing for the first time since the curse took hold. The initial relief fades as Aria begins to clutch her head, screaming in pain. The room blurs around her, her senses overwhelmed by a flood of intense emotions, each touch and sound magnified to an unbearable degree. Lilith watches from the doorway, horror and guilt washing over her face. She realizes the terrible consequences of the potion, witnessing Aria writhing in pain on the floor, caught in a whirlwind of heightened sensations. The scene closes with Aria lying exhausted and tearful on the floor, the camera pulling away to leave her in her solitude. Lilith retreats to her workshop, determined to find a solution, her figure a blend of resolve and regret. Celeste Moonfall stands alone in the dimly lit corner of the Academy's vast library, her eyes wide with the strain of her latest vision. The shadows seem to creep closer as the weight of her foreknowledge presses down upon her. A vision passes before Celeste's eyes, her friends entangled in a web of desire and magic, their actions spiraling towards disaster. Her face reflects the horror and helplessness she feels as she witnesses events that have not yet come to pass. Trying to regain control, Celeste reaches out to the visions, as if she could physically alter their course. Her voice trembles as she whispers desperate pleas into the empty air, trying to communicate with the shadows of the future. The library returns to stillness as the vision fades, leaving Celeste drained and more isolated than ever. She breathes heavily, the silence around her now a stark contrast to the chaos of her visions. Frustrated and fearful, Celeste makes a decision. She leaves the library to find her friends, determined to warn them despite knowing her visions are often unheeded. Her resolve is palpable as she steps into the dimly lit hallways of the academy. Upon touching the grimoire, a sudden burst of flame envelops the girl's hands, but she does not flinch. Instead, the flames reflect a fierce determination in her eyes. As Celeste approaches her friends, the weight of her knowledge and the burdens of her powers make her pause. She sees them laughing and joking, unaware of the dangers their desires are courting, and her heart sinks with the fear of what might be inevitable. Deep beneath the ancient stone of Eldritch Academy, Tobias leads the group through narrow, dimly lit corridors, their footsteps echoing ominously. The air grows colder as they descend further into the labyrinthine underbelly of the school, guided only by Tobias's uncanny sense of direction and the flickering light from their enchanted lanterns. As they reach the chamber's entrance, they find it sealed with a heavy iron door, covered in ancient, rusted locks and chains. Tobias steps forward, muttering an incantation under his breath. The locks click open one by one, and the chains begin falling to the ground with a loud clang as the door creaks open slowly. Inside the chamber, the air is thick with magical energy. The walls are etched with forgotten runes that pulse with a dark light. The group hesitantly steps inside, their lanterns casting eerie shadows that dance across the walls, revealing glimpses of twisted, humanoid shapes in the corners. As they explore, Lilith discovers a series of shelves filled with dusty tomes and broken artifacts. She picks up a fragmented crystal that pulses with sinister energy. Her touch seems to awaken something in the chamber, as a low, menacing hum begins to fill the air, growing louder with each passing second. Suddenly, the center of the chamber begins to glow, a harsh, unnatural light emanating from a crack in the floor. The group gathers around, watching in horror as the crack widens, revealing a ghostly figure that rises from the depths. The spirit's eyes burn with a malevolent light as it surveys the room. The spirit speaks in a voice that echoes through the chamber, offering cryptic warnings and advice about the power they have unleashed. Its words resonate with a foreboding power, hinting at the dark history of the chamber and the dangerous path the group has chosen. Overwhelmed by what they have learned, the group retreats from the chamber, the heavy door closing behind them with a definitive thud. They are left in the echoing silence of the corridors, each member lost in thought about the grim revelations and the daunting choices that lie ahead. Deep within the labyrinthine underbelly of Eldritch Academy, Aria, Flameheart, and Jasper Nightwell cautiously approach a forbidding door etched with ancient runes, pulsing faintly in the dim light. Jasper reaches out, his voice trembling slightly as he pushes the door open, revealing a chamber shrouded in darkness, filled with the whispers of the past and echoes of forgotten magic. The boy watches, horror and fascination etched on his face as his body begins to fade, becoming almost translucent, a ghostly figure in the dim library light. In the center of the chamber, a spectral figure materializes, bound in chains that glow with a spectral light. The figure, a long-forgotten wizard, appears tormented, his face contorted in a silent scream. The spirit speaks in a voice that resonates with both wisdom and sorrow, offering Jasper the power to control shadows and break Aria's curse, but at the cost of his own humanity. Jasper and Aria exchange a look of deep uncertainty and fear. Jasper's face is etched with the weight of the decision, his eyes reflecting the internal struggle between the love for Aria and the fear of losing himself to darkness. Making his decision, Jasper nods solemnly to the spirit, accepting the dark pact. The chains around the spirit begin to dissolve into shadows that swirl towards Jasper, enveloping him in darkness. As the shadows engulf Jasper, transforming him, Aria's expression shifts to one of determination. She steps closer, ready to face whatever consequences their actions may bring, their fates now irrevocably intertwined with the dark legacy of Eldritch Academy. In the dimly lit chamber of ancient stone, Tobias Wraithson stands solemnly at the center, his eyes filled with a mixture of determination and apprehension. He gathers the group, explaining the grave nature of the ritual they are about to perform. Tobias instructs each participant to prepare for their sacrifice, emphasizing the dangers and the necessity of their actions to save Jasper. He begins the incantation, his voice echoing ominously through the chamber. Aria Flameheart steps forward, her expression one of fierce resolve mixed with pain. She holds out her hand from which flames are emanating, and with a grimace, slices off a piece of her skin that is constantly burning. As Aria's fiery skin drops into the cauldron, the flames in the room intensify, reflecting her sacrifice. Jasper, his face half-shadowed, solemnly offers his own sacrifice by cutting off a hand that is wrapped in creeping shadows. Lilith Evergreen, her face calm but her eyes betraying her fear, scatters a mix of potent herbs and vines into the cauldron, her hands briefly transforming into vine-like tendrils as she chants softly. Their forbidden experiment unleashed, the library around them begins to shift. Books rattle on their shelves, and a low, ominous hum fills the air, a sound of magic disturbed. The ritual reaches its climax as Tobias's incantations grow louder and more urgent. The air in the chamber thickens with magical energy, the sacrifices in the cauldron glowing and pulsating with power. As the ritual concludes, the transformations take effect. Tobias's eyes darken dramatically, Celeste's gaze sharpens terrifyingly, and Aria's remaining flames turn to a deep, sinister red. Jasper, saved from his spectral fate, collapses, exhausted but alive. As the walls of Eldritch Academy begin to crumble, ancient spells that once shielded it from the outside world falter, revealing the Academy's vulnerability to dark forces. The air crackles with unchecked magical energy, a vivid sign of the chaos unleashed. Aria Flameheart, her eyes wide with fear and determination, struggles to control the flames dancing at her fingertips. The fire, once a mere flicker under her command, now bursts wildly around her, threatening to engulf the surrounding area. Jasper Nightwell, his form becoming more shadow than flesh, fights to retain his humanity. His body flickers between solid and spectral, each transition marked by a painful grimace as he clings to his essence amidst the chaos. Headmaster Orion Blackthorn steps forward, his presence commanding even amidst the destruction. As he reveals his monstrous form, his body warps grotesquely, reflecting the immense and dark power he has kept suppressed for centuries. As the headmaster discloses his tragic past tied to the grimoire, the air around him thickens with a palpable sense of sorrow and foreboding, making his revelations even more impactful. Aria and Jasper, leading their fellow students, navigate through the labyrinth of newly exposed corridors of the Academy, their faces marked with resolve. They are determined to confront the dark magics and the personal sacrifices they must make to save their beloved Academy. As dark forces ravage Eldritch Academy, the once vibrant corridors now lie in ruins, testifying to the destructive power of the unleashed magic. Headmaster Orion Blackthorn, a figure of authority and mystery throughout the series, steps forward among the ruins, revealing his deep personal connection to the cursed grimoire. Realizing the gravity of what they've initiated, the two look at each other, a pact unspoken but understood. They must face whatever comes together. Orion explains the true nature of the grimoire's curse, detailing how it binds not just to the magical powers it grants, but to the very souls of its wielders. Faced with the need to make a monumental decision, Aria, Jasper, Lilith, Tobias, and Celeste gather in the ancient ritual chamber, reflecting on their journey and the bonds they formed. Together, they perform the Sacrifice of Love, a powerful ritual requiring them to relinquish their enhanced magical abilities to break the curse and save the Academy. The intense ritual leaves the group visibly weakened, but fundamentally changed, as the dark energy suffusing the Academy lifts, signaling the curse's end. With the grimoire's power diminished and sealed away by Orion, the Academy begins a slow recovery, marked by the physical and emotional scars of the ordeal. The characters emerge from their trial changed, stepping into a new chapter of their lives, more aware of the delicate balance between power and responsibility. As the series concludes, the characters reflect on their experiences, recognizing that the sacrifices made were necessary for the greater good of their magical community. The camera pans over Eldritch Academy as dusk falls, casting long shadows across the Gothic architecture, its turrets and spires shrouded in mystery. Inside, a fire blazes uncontrollably, reflecting the chaos of Aria Flameheart's curse. In her secluded workshop filled with files and ancient books, Lilith Evergreen is meticulously grinding rare herbs with a mortar and pestle, her face etched with concentration and urgency. Lilith combines the ground herbs with mystical fluids in a large, bubbling cauldron, whispering incantations. The potion emits a soft glow as she drops in a vial of Aria's blood, which sizzles upon contact.